Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 3 was bonkers on Draftkings and on FanDuel, and I'm going to go through and recap everything that happened on that week. We're going to go over my Best Buys article from ESPN. We're going to go player by player, look at it, see where I was right, where was I wrong, where was I lucky, where did I get unlucky, where was the process bad, where was the process good. We're going to look at my cash game and my tournament lineups. We're going to look at the 3 hand-built lineups that I make every week, and we're going to look at how I did in the Millionaire Maker. We're going to go over to FanDuel. We're going to take a look at the tournaments that I had over there, my finishes, and we're going to go over the results of the cage match. Thank you guys for coming to the second channel. That's where the recap video lives. Appreciate you guys being here. I know that you used to only go into one channel, but I had to move it because I have so many videos on that main channel, especially on Mondays with the Monday Night Football game and First Look coming out on Monday, that it was kind of choking and cannibalizing each other. Last week worked out really, really well in terms of the health of the main channel on Monday and Tuesday as a result of moving this video here. So thank you guys for subbing to the second channel. If we could have the same rules over here that we have now put in place on the first channel, of 10% of the views of this video need to turn into likes. I don't expect everybody to like the video. It's never going to happen. It's just not a real thing. But if this video gets 5,000 views, it's up to you guys to drop 500 minimum likes on this video. So thank you for being here. Subscribe to the second channel. In the off season, it's going to be video game stuff. During the season, it's going to be podcasts, interviews, and this recap video every single week. So let's get to the recap. On ESPN, if you have ESPN Plus, you have access to my Best Buys article. Comes out every single Thursday morning. I'm also on the Fantasy Focus podcast at ESPN. The one with Matthew Berry and Stefania Bell and Field Yates and Mike Clay and Daniel Dopp. And then there's me, like kind of like Kilroy in the background, just peeking over the wall every Thursday as well, where we break down what we think of the weekend's matchups. Here's what we had. I did not spread these guys individually. I wrote up more players than I usually do in Best Buys for week 3 because I felt that there was so much more to talk about based on how soft the pricing was. So I kind of grouped Russ Wilson and Dak Prescott together and said, look, just stack the hell out of this game, right? Word for word, this game will be the most popular stack of the week, and for good reason. They scored roughly 400 points together. Russ Wilson had 27 for 40 for 315 yards. Got you the bonus. 5 more touchdowns. He's insane. 6 rushes for 22 yards, 39.8 DraftKings points. Dak Prescott, if you stack the other side, 37 of 57. 57 attempts is absurd. 472 yards is absurd. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 6 for 26 on the ground, 33.48 DraftKings points. You needed to stack the hell out of this game. That was the route that we wanted to take a lot this week. I think 30% of my lineups were Russ Wilson or Dak Prescott stacks and bringbacks. I still didn't win a tournament. Kyler Murray had a fine day. He kind of killed himself a little bit. Like, he was fine for 6,800, 23 of 38, 270 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions really kind of brought him back down to earth a little bit. That would have been a 30-point DraftKings day without those 3 turnovers. 5 rushes only, but for 29 yards and a touchdown, as I said, 24.7 DraftKings points. Cam Newton was a little bit of a disappointment in terms of fantasy output because Rex Burkhead scored all the touchdowns. 17 of 28 for 162 and a touchdown. We had predicted that he wasn't going to throw the ball as much or as efficiently. Had an interception. 9 rushes, that's great, but only for 27 yards. That's odd. And no touchdowns. Not necessarily odd because quarterbacks aren't going to score a touchdown on the ground every week. 12.2 DraftKings points. This is a miss. I'm fine with it. I'm probably going to play him again in week 4. Ben Roethlisberger, again, did fine, but this game was dominated by the ground game a little bit once they got into the second half. 23 of 36, 237, 2 touchdowns, 19.2 DraftKings points. He was fine. Upsetting that Deontay Johnson got injured. We'll get into that a little bit later. Derrick Henry, smash. The running backs did very well. Derrick Henry, smash. 26 for 119, 2 touchdowns, 2 catches for Derrick Henry. He caught 2 balls. 2 catches on 3 targets. We need 4 targets a game. 4 targets is all we need for Derrick Henry. Please. Moving forward, Titans, 4 targets a game. Only 11 yards on those 30 DraftKings points. Smash. Jonathan Taylor, he missed. Did not get a lot of volume in a game where he probably should have. They got up really big. The defense scored a touchdown or 2, and they just didn't give Taylor the ball. He was very efficient when he got the ball on the ground. 13 carries for 59 yards and a touchdown. 1 catch on 1 target. He's caught every ball that's been thrown his way this year. 13.2 DraftKings points. So he missed, but in cash games, he really didn't hurt you as everybody else had him. Same with Miles Sanders. Volume was great. 18 carries, 8 targets, guys. 18 carries, 95 yards. No touchdowns, 4 catches on those 8 targets for 12 yards. Weird that he only had 12. He was missed on like a 55 or 54 yard passing touchdown by Carson Wentz. That's disappointing, or he would have been an absolute smash play. I think we got a little bit unlucky here. Taylor's usage is weird. I hope he doesn't yo-yo up and down each week in terms of having like 25 carries and then like 12 touches. That would suck for us moving forward. But at least it's holding his price down in the short term. 14.7 points for Miles Sanders. So he's a miss, but I really feel like we got a little bit unlucky there, both based on the volume and based on the results of getting missed on a 55-yard touchdown. We'll be talking about this way differently if that was the case. Or if he got the bonus, 5 yards away on 18 carries. They just didn't feed him enough, in my opinion. Austin Eckler did not disappoint. 12 carries for 59 yards and a touchdown. 11 catches on 11 targets for 84 yards. No touchdowns. 31.3 DraftKings points. Smash. James Conner. Smash. 18 carries, 109 and a touchdown. Caught 4 of 5 balls thrown his way for 40 yards. 27.9 DraftKings points. Jerick McKinnon. Great. 4,900, 14 carries, 38 yards, touchdown, 3 catches on 4 targets, 39 yards, no touchdowns, 16.7 points. Over 3x his salary. We did fine there. DeAndre Hopkins, 26.7 points. Predictable smash here, right? Like, I'm not going to take credit for telling you, hey, DeAndre Hopkins is a layup, and look, I made the layup, right? It was a layup. It did what it was supposed to do. It's the Chris Rock joke. I take care of my kids. You're supposed to take care of your kids. 10 catches on 12 targets, very easily convertible targets, as we've said before, very low ADOT. 137 yards, no touchdowns, 26.7 DraftKings points. Something to note with DeAndre Hopkins and every one of the Cardinals moving forward. The next 5 weeks, the Cardinals play the Panthers, the Jets, the Cowboys, the Seahawks, and the Dolphins. We're going to play Cardinals every week, guys. Just get used to that for the next month and a half. Cardinals are going to be in your lineup every single damn week. DK Metcalf, 23 points, 4 catches, 8 targets, 110 yards. Got you the bonus and a touchdown. Should have been 2, but he reverse Leon Ledded and kind of eased up and held the ball in one hand and got it plunked out at the goal line, went out for a touchback. Unfortunate, if you rostered DK Metcalf, he would have had around a 30.29.5 points instead of 23, but 23 didn't kill you. I'll take it. It's just disappointing to see a loss of 6.5 more points that he should have had. KJ Hamler missed, but we were prepared for that. He wasn't going to hurt you very much in cash. If he did miss, he did have 5.8 points, got 5 targets, 3 of them were caught. They switched quarterbacks in the middle of this game. He did have a rushing attempt, 30 yards, 5.8 points. If you want to consider this a miss, I'm fine with you calling it a miss. Braxton Berrios did good at cheap. Andy Isabella, who became a play after Best Buys, was out because Christian Kirk went out Friday afternoon. If you pivoted and paid up a little bit more for him, you had an absolute smash play. I love that. There was another 3,400 receiver in Greg Ward Jr., who had 17 or 19 DraftKings points if you went that route. There were a lot of good value plays, but the stone minimum ones at 3K did not outdo Hamler, and he wasn't really highly owned in tournaments. I chose to leverage him. If you didn't, that's fine. You can give me a miss on that one if you want. I'm fine with that. Hamler reminds me, if you guys watched the show last year, KJ Hamler in 2020 is Noah Fant, or he's the replica fantasy play that Noah Fant was in 2019. Remember when we were saying that Noah Fant's going to win somebody a GPP at some point during 2019? I just don't know exactly which week. That's Hamler in 2020. His salary is going to remain low because he does not have a lot of volume. He is, I'm assuming it's going to stay pretty low, under 4,500 for like every single week until he has a breakout week. And that breakout could come anytime because it could come on a 65 or an 80-yard touchdown catch. So I like the usage. I like where they're putting him. Hopefully we can get Drew Lock healthy and he can actually unlock some of his skills. DJ Moore, he's a miss. 8.5 points, only 4 targets. That kind of sucked. It doesn't make sense. It was a weird anomaly. I'll take an L there if you want me to. CeeDee Lamb got usurped by Cedric Wilson, who caught 5 balls for 107 and 2 touchdowns, while CeeDee Lamb got 5 catches on 6 targets for 65 yards and no touchdowns. That sucked. Deontay Johnson, also at 5,400 on DraftKings, got injured. I'm not taking an L here. If you played him in cash games, it didn't hurt you. He was over 60 something percent owned in 50-50s and double ups. You just had to beat him somewhere else. And again, I'm never taking an L if somebody gets injured. Not my fault. N'Keal Harry was somebody that I came off of later in the week as a result of what we were saying with, I thought that the Patriots were going to have to run the ball a little bit more. N'Keal Harry, only 4 targets, 2 catches, 34 yards, 5.6 DraftKings points. This was a miss, but it was one that we kind of were not prioritizing by Friday and definitely not by Sunday morning based on how I expected that game script to go with the injured Raiders that were involved. Zach Ertz, 10 targets, 7 catches, 70 yards, no touchdown, 14 points, just fine. Logan Thomas, Haskins-induced inefficiency led him to a 4 for 7. 7 targets, 4 catches, 31 yards, no touchdowns. And Dontrell Inman, of all people on that team, got all the end zone targets, ending up with 2 touchdowns. They didn't go to the bigger bodied Logan Thomas. They didn't go to and Logan Thomas, by the way, on one of that second Inman touchdown was the primary, and he dragged across the middle, and then Inman came behind him, where if Logan Thomas is there, they throw it to him, but they covered him up, and so he went to the secondary guy, which was Inman. That sucked. Or Terry McLaurin didn't get the end zone targets either. Weird week for Washington. 7.1 points. Didn't kill you if he stays low priced. He ran the most routes per dropback of any tight end in the league. Once again, he is going to perpetually be a guy who gets you way more targets than his price should allow. And if he has one of those outlier weeks, he can win you a tournament if his price stays that low. Hunter Henry, 10 fantasy points, 5 catches on 7 targets, 50 yards. Fine. Drew Sample, I'll take an L here. 1 catch, 1 target, 1 yard, 1.1 DraftKings points. He sucked. What are you going to do? Indianapolis Colts did not suck, 26 points. Browns defense did not suck, 14 DraftKings points. Eagles defense did not suck, 8 points. On to how my games went this week. Here's my 3 lineups. You guys know that I build 3 lineups by hand every single week. Let me get them more on the screen for you here. The one on the left is my cash game lineup. Kyler Murray, Austin Eckler, who I was shocked that more people did not play him this weekend, but they didn't. Miles Sanders, DeAndre Hopkins, Johnson, who got hurt, KJ Hamler, Logan Thomas, Jonathan Taylor, Eagles defense. This lineup cashed in cash. So just kind of a break-even week for me in cash games. On DraftKings, I think I had like a 53 percentile lineup. It cashed 50-50s. It won just over half of the head-to-heads. Just spinning my wheels this week. In tournaments on DraftKings, I did not have a profitable week. This was my lineup that I talked about on the 0600 that I was going to build around, was going to be a Cowboy stack. I went with Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, DK Metcalf. If Lamb was Gallup, the lineup would have done much better. Obviously, Austin Eckler, Kenyon Drake, trying to leverage off of the projected percentage that Hopkins plus Kyler was going to be on that game. I brought it back with Hawkinson, who was, I think, second in the week in terms of routes run, but the touchdown went to Jesse James. The wrong tight end caught the touchdown. There was also another play when both tight ends. Okay. I'm going to talk football for just a second, like not fantasy, but like actual football. There's a typical West Coast. It's like the stereotypical, the prototype West Coast offense play where the quarterback takes the snap, turns to his left because they're mostly right-handed, play action to the running back going to the left, then he waggles out to the right, and one of the tight ends bleeds here in the flat, and another one, or a wide receiver or tight end, runs deeper, or it can be a fullback also that bleeds out into the flat, and then one runs a little bit of a deeper route. Jesse James was the underneath, Hawkinson was on top, and Hawkinson had nobody within 10 yards of him, and Jesse James was covered, and Stafford still threw it to Jesse James. Like, that would have been another 20-yard catch with nobody within 10 yards of Hawkinson, and as athletic as he is in the open field, it was like on the 30 or 35-yard line of Arizona. Like, that could have easily been a touchdown. So a little disappointing that Hawkinson only ended with 9.3 there. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor here. Interesting thing here in this third lineup. This lineup was a Chargers stack, and the only players that were locked early were Nick Chubb, Connor, Browns defense, Logan Thomas. So these spots were all late swappable. Murray, Lockett, CeeDee Lamb, KJ Hamler, and Jonathan Taylor. So I went over this in Discord. If you're not in Discord, there's a link down below in the description. Click show more, jump in Discord. If you're subbed to the Twitch channel, you get access to the subs only channels. That's where this discussion went. I swapped off of that entire Chargers stack with the quarterback, Herbert and Eckler and Keenan Allen, which would have outscored this lineup. I wanted to get to more of a chalky look in the second half. I went off of just a Seahawks stack. I did have Lockett and Lamb as a bring back. I went with Kyler Murray because I thought that he was the good block play. Clearly, if I go with like this lineup could have won basically all the high stakes money. I'm saying if I made different decisions, it didn't. I didn't make the right decisions. I had 20 minutes to do it. I chose poorly. Taylor, if he stays, so the route to getting to Russ Wilson in this lineup would have been to stay with Eckler over Taylor. That would have allowed me to get up to Russ Wilson. I could have still had Lockett. I was going to go with Lockett because I had more shares of DK Metcalf, so I wanted to even that out in my contrarian lineup. And Gallup over Lamb would have basically gotten me to the top of all the high stakes tournaments. In terms of 50-50s, this was the cash game lineup that I talked about. This is the $1,000 50-50. It pays 20 spots, as you can see right here. I came in 19th. Whew. So I just kind of got there, as I said, in cash games. To kind of buoy my floor for the week. Not a bad week for me. I mean, I didn't win on DraftKings, but like 10% up or down, if you have a plus 10% or minus 10% day, you're basically breaking even. This was a minus 10% day for me overall on DraftKings. This was the cash game lineup. That's where it kind of figured out. As I was saying, Miles Sanders, 97.5% owned. It didn't matter what Miles Sanders did in cash games because everybody had him. DeAndre Hopkins, over half the field had him. Johnson going out, 62% of the field had him. Didn't matter. 60% of the field had Taylor. You just had to beat him somewhere else, right? So I beat people with Austin Eckler at 10% in this lineup. Only a couple of lineups had him. 4 lineups had Austin Eckler in them at high stakes cash games. In terms of the Millionaire Maker, this is where I said I did not have a good week. My allocations were a little bit off. I went to consolidate around more of the chalky plays instead of trying to expand my player pool to include every one of the best plays. I think I had 40% Miles Sanders, 40% Taylor. Obviously, if they don't do well, I'm not going to do well in tournaments. I think I had 35% Drake. But then I really tried to load up and overweight the field on some of these other players. Like I said, I have Eckler, where I had 20%-ish Eckler. I had 25% Nick Chubb, who came off at 4.5% owned. I think I had 5 to 10% Wilson, 2.4% owned. Eckler was 12% in the Millionaire Maker. Tyler Lockett 17. I think I matched the field there. James Conner was 7.5% owned. I had 20 to 25% of him. So instead of playing all the fringe players, I consolidated my stacks around a lot of those contrarian plays, but too much Taylor and too much Miles Sanders kept me from winning any of the big money over there on DraftKings this week. In terms of the bomb this week, I didn't profit in the bomb. Here are all of my entries. 208 won everything. My highest lineup was 186. It was this one on the right. Russ Wilson, James Conner, Devin Singletary, Ridley, Gallup, Metcalf, Hayden Hurst, who didn't do much, didn't really bust a grape this week. Austin Eckler had a lot of Colts defense, so I got the bonus for that touchdown. We'll see how that pays off. I didn't even know if they sent that yet. Did well in my 3 max games. So won $3,500 with this one. This is the $555 monster on DraftKings. I made $3,500. It was what, about $1,650 to get in? $1,665 total to get in here. So DraftKings did not make a profit. FanDuel, I made $200, guys, on $14,000 worth of entries. So just kind of spun my wheels, like I said, like a 5 to 10% down bubble overall on the week for me. I did come in second in the qualifier by 9 points. Kind of sucks with that same exact lineup from before. If Thielen, like I had Metcalf, and this was a hand-built lineup, by the way. My 3 lineups on both sides are hand-built. Wilson, Henry, went with the contrarian play Connor, as this was not my primary lineup. Wilson, Metcalf, Gallup. I went with Thielen because I think I had 7,200 left. If I was willing to have left more money on the table and went with a double stack here, which I probably should have, double stack with a bring back, was the better way to go in a smaller field, higher stakes tournament, and not go with Thielen here. It clearly would have been Tyler Lockett, and I would have run away with literally all the high stakes money on FD. As far as but I didn't, so that is what it is. My mistake, clearly. Here's the cage match. Drew just dragged me all over the cage this week as Kenyon Drake and Jonathan Taylor didn't do anything. Deontay Johnson got hurt. That sucked. I mean, he had Williams get hurt too, so whatever. He got 14 points out of Mo Alley Cox. He had a bust with that, but like clearly Austin Eckler, Josh Allen had big days for him. Tyler Lockett with 3 touchdowns and a 100-yard bonus carried him to victory. We're 2-1 in the cage. I have already donated my $500 to Charity Water. I sent Drew the receipt. If you want to ask him, did Al pay up? I most certainly did. I appreciate you guys being here. We'll catch you next week for another recap. Bye.
He's a legend.